Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff J. Brown in less and less hot and sultry Shenzhen. Tomorrow is the 1st of September, and it is starting to cool off incrementally. We're not melting like soft wax candles anymore like we were a month ago every time we would step outside. Today's podcast and article is a really interesting one, and I hope thought-provoking for everybody listening in. The title of it is, Why is China Tech, as in technology, smoking the West? Because they have socialist vision. Here we go. China's technology sectors are exploding by leaps and bounds and rapidly eclipsing OECD countries, which stands for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, those being the United States and most of its wealthy poodle states around the world. Organized in 1961 by Uncle Sam to complement America's other imperial sledgehammer, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, OECD plus NATO were and are supposed to be capitalism's FU to socialist and communist countries. You know the ones I'm talking about, those that dare to stand up and be free from Western tyranny, occupation, and subjugation, including China. Some communist idealists and purists have never forgiven former Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping for his 1978 to 1989 policies of opening up the People's Republic to economic reforms and international financial and technological markets, and who knows, maybe they are right. If any country in the world could become a global leader as an ascetic society come communist powerhouse, China is the only one that could probably pull it off long term. Mo Bo Gao and Dongping Han both agree that it was a viable option. And by the way, this article is full of links, so you really need to find the source article to get the most out of it. But it didn't turn out that way. As I have written in the China trilogy, the Chinese have been communist for 5,000 years and come to it naturally. But Deng dreamed of a rich technology-fueled communist China, not an agrarian, heavy industry behemoth with a Spartan consumer lifestyle. Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, and the USSR had the same problem. Communism is supposed to develop in wealthy post-industrial infrastructure, technology, and educated, developed capitalist countries, not among poor, illiterate peasants crawling out of feudalism, misery, and near slavery. While totally denied by the West, Lenin and company were very successful with their new economic policy, abbreviated NEP, in turning the Soviet Union into an industrial, technological, and scientific powerhouse, rivaling the West. But like Deng's concerns, Russian daily life lacked amenities and consumer goods that educated working people aspire to during their leisure hours. Industrialized countries would already have them with which to transition to communism. Russia and China never had them in the first place. So Deng decided to return China to its millennial glory days of technological superiority over the rest of the world and opened up the floodgates. It is hard to believe that it has been less than 40 years since he flipped on the switch. As a result, China has radically transformed itself in just a couple of short generations. Since it has re-solidified its historical genius at technological innovation, the rest of humanity will also never be the same again, and the rest of us are finding it difficult to keep up. McKinsey, the Western financial reporting company, has confirmed what everybody knows, but don't want to admit. Baba Beijing is overtaking the OECD and NATO in technological superiority. And there's a nice graph in the source article. In nominal exchange terms, China is in the top 3 in cutting-edge venture capital technology sectors. But this chart only tells half the story. First, in 2016, China's currency, the RMB, was already depreciating against the US dollar and the euro, making the above Chinese dollar equivalents smaller. Second, China has a planned communist-based economy, so most of the tech investment is being funneled into streams of long-term national and regional objectives that are designed to improve the lives and lifestyles of the Chinese people. These many economic and technological pipelines are analyzed out 5, 10, 20, and more years and modified for maximum social benefit as the results pour in. Third, McKinsey only focused on private venture capital. Much, if not most, of China's quote, STEM, S-T-E-M, end of quote, innovation, which stands for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, is paid for via its dominant and massive public state sector, which is composed of state-owned enterprises, abbreviated SOEs. In the capitalist West, the first, second, and third goals of any investment are to make the investors as rich as possible, as fast as possible, damn the environmental, human, and social consequences. End of story. This in spite of all the preposterous propaganda about capitalism's, quote, infinite market wisdom, end of quote, and Adam Smith's invisible hand, making everything hunky-dory for the poor, working class, and middle classes. The hard-to-accept reality is the West's elites have been blowing this punk smoke up the little people's asses for the last 500 years. OECD citizens' eyes glaze over, and they look down and stare at their feet when I say this. They are not rich because of capitalism. They are rich because of their empire's extractive plunder of dark-skinned people's natural resources and the exploitation of these same people's labor. But I digress, dear China Rising Radio Sinoland fan. So let's get back to China, where the real action is happening. Unlike the very corrupt West, socialist Baba Beijing actually follows through and makes the average Wong's life better. One only has to look at my hometown, Shenzhen, to see concrete, real-time proof of what I'm saying, as well as my testimony of traveling around the libertarian capitalist United States this summer as a comparison. And again, tons of links in the source article. The OECD's fetid swamp of money buys all politics, controlled by corporate power lobbies, trillionaire oil banking families, and deep state spies and generals who are sucking the 99.9% bone dry, is starting to catch up with it. Baba Beijing is even taking a big bite out of one of the West's race plus democracy superiority trump cards, in parentheses, Trump with a small t, yuck yuck, end of parentheses, and that is intellectual property. And again, there's a really good article linked about this. Be it space stations, green energy, bio and medtech, new generation nuclear energy, Agri-Tech, infrastructure, military hardware, industrial production, transportation, robotics, artificial intelligence, financial tech, supercomputers plus big data, and on and on and on, Baba Beijing is kicking Western butt and taking names. But you would hardly know it from the mind-numbing mainstream media propaganda machine orchestrated out of Langley, Virginia, and the Pentagon. I can hardly keep up with China's hyperbolic technology plus innovation trajectory. It is breathtaking and leaves my head spinning. I live it every day in Shenzhen, the new millennium Silicon Valley. San Jose is so 20th century, baby. In fact, China's 21st century Great Leap Forward 2.0 and innovation revolution is so dizzying, inspiring, and humanity-changing that I'm committed to reporting on key sectors in this column in the future. So consult China Rising Radio Sinoland often and read the China Trilogy to understand how your world works and where you are headed. Don't be one of the majority fools who will wake up one day and say, "What the fug happened, Bubba? I mean, seriously, dude, what the hell is going on?" And remember, fans, sharing is caring. Put your social media to good use and liven up lunch at work with China Rising Radio Sinoland as your horn of Gabriel and sword of truth. Maybe we can save the West from itself before it's too late. No one can say you didn't try. That's all for today. Jeff J. Brown in Shenzhen, China for another China Rising Radio Sinoland article and podcast. Have a wonderful day.